All right, here we go. Uh, all right, so Total Nonstop Deletion. What do you even? How do you even describe this thing? Well, for starters, I didn't watch the show live. Thursday night, I was at the movie theater seeing Rogue One because I got my ticket weeks in advance, and I wasn't going to miss that. So I watched this show on Friday night. Luckily, Pop TV put it on the website so I could just watch it without commercials. That was helpful. So I'm God, what the hell is I'm like what 12 hours, 15 hours removed from it now, and I'm still not entirely sure what I watched. So I'll do my best to break this thing down for you guys. But let's try to do it quickly because I got to finish my Christmas shopping and I don't have a whole lot of time left to do it. So let's just get started with Total Nonstop Deletion. Guys, I gotta be honest with you. I have no idea how to review something like this. I really don't. Total Nonstop Deletion was so completely removed from anything I've seen in wrestling outside of, the Matt's Broken Universe stuff that I really don't know how to classify this or rate it. You can't rate it on wrestling quality because you don't watch a show like this for the wrestling. You watch it for the spectacle. You watch it for the uniqueness, for the experience of seeing something so utterly bizarre that you're never gonna see something like it anywhere else. And it absolutely delivered on that front. But whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is going to be a really polarizing topic, I think. This is a show that you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Either you were cheering and jumping up and down and laughing and having an awesome time with the sheer unadulterated lunacy of what was on display here, or you just thought it was the stupidest thing you've ever seen. I don't think there's going to be a lot of middle road with this one. Personally, I'm mostly in the camp of the former. Though I do think Matt may be starting to overindulge. TNA may be starting to give him a little too much creative freedom for his own good. This was still batshit insane to a glorious degree. However, now that they've done a whole show like this, I'm not sure if there's anywhere else they can really go with it. So this may be the Broken Universe peaking. What's next? How do they top this? What do they do? Do they do a whole pay-per-view like it or something? Who knows? I don't think I'd want to subject Matt to too much temptation. Okay, so anyway, the show begins with this music video. It's kind of like what they did for Delete or Decay. But they're getting a little more ambitious now. We see Matt and Jeff and Rebby, preparing the battlefield, so to speak. You got Matt. He's taking he's out on the lake on Skarsgård, whatever. Jeff is preparing the lawn, doing all his crazy artwork on the lawn, and then Rebby's by the lake on the piano, and the camera's just like panning around her on the piano over and over. It's actually kind of an epic video, what they did here. So kudos on that. So then we go to a fake news broadcast. This was really interesting. I think they actually got real news people to do this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they play it like a real news segment. And they say, "Oh, yeah, Cameron has been shut down, and all the roads are closed." Even though we see a truck on the road later on, but all the roads are closed, and like all the people in the audience had to sign release forms in case something horrible happens that the company can't be sued or something. And they cut to the Hardys' compound, where there's a fucking volcano there. They set up an actual volcano. Jesus Christ. I was like, okay, yeah, it's silly, but you know what? This is a silly show, and it's something different. I don't think I've ever seen, a news segment on a wrestling show before. So I'll let him have this one. It was funny, but yeah, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be really campy and off the wall. So I'll let him have that. So then we enter the Dome of Deletion, and I'll give this for him. It's small and the lighting sucks, but the crowd was a hell of a lot better than the Impact Zone crowd, being that they were actually awake and they were into the show. So there's that. Of course, those are all probably just like Matt Hardy's cronies or whatever. So not surprising they were into the show. So the broken, obsolete Hardys come out, and it's like Total Nonstop Deletion. I knew you'd come, and of course everybody pops huge for it. I did like the stage that they have. It's basically just a giant painting of broken Matt. It was pretty funny. So Matt hypes up King Maxell's in-ring debut, and pretty quickly he's interrupted by Rockstar Spud. And you probably knew what was going to happen here. And, oh boy, poor Spud. He's sick of Maxell getting all his TV time, and I sympathize. Because, how long have they been bringing that kid out there? And I know I'm not the only one who's been kind of uncomfortable with them putting the kid on the show. I know they wouldn't subject the kid to any dangerous situations, but for me, it's like, that kid is going to go deaf. Babies have really sensitive hearing. I once knew a guy, my first job, as a teenager, I worked at an amusement park, and I worked with this guy who was deaf in one ear because when he was a baby, a gunshot went off too close to him. So he was actually deaf in one ear. It's because babies have really sensitive hearing. So I'm like, that poor kid is going to be deaf by the time before he hits puberty if they keep bringing him out there. So I've never been comfortable with him out there, but hey, they're doing it. So here he is. And the Spud is sick of this kid getting all this TV time, and yeah, I know where you're coming from, Spud. I don't think the kid should be out there either. But so Spud wants Maxell gone. So he demands that he be the one to wrestle Maxell in Maxell's in-ring debut. And because it's Matt Hardy writing this stuff, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion what happened. The bell rings, and Senor Benjamin tases Spud. Or then the bell rings or whatever. But, so Spud goes down and Maxell just pins him just like that. Somehow, someway, Maxell is over. He's over in the Dome of Deletion. He's over in the Impact Zone. I don't know how the hell that happened, but it did. But what's the end game here? Was it really necessary to humiliate Rockstar Spud like this? Rockstar Spud, who was and is one of your best talents. He's one of the most entertaining guys, one of the best talkers, one of the most charismatic talents you've got on your roster. A guy who sadly has been very underutilized lately. Was it really necessary to do this with him? Just to put over Matt's baby? See, this is where I get the impression that Matt is just starting to get overindulgent with this stuff. It's like, maybe you're giving this guy too much creative freedom. If he's doing this, just to do something cool for his baby who's not even going to remember this when he grows up, at the expense of a guy of a great talent who could be making you money, who is already underutilized to begin with, it just, yes, it was funny, but it's like, Spud deserves better than this, man. So then they cut backstage, and Disco Inferno is watching this, and he makes a quick comment to the camera, and then he disappears, and that's the last time we see Disco Inferno. Like, what? Okay, what was that about? I don't know. Cool to see Disco. I have a soft spot for Disco. He's a funny guy. But what was he doing there? Beats me. So then we cut to earlier in the day when the Express that rocks and rolls shows up. because they're going to take part in tag team apocalypto. We didn't get the Young Bucks; they never showed up, but we got these two fossils. So, yay. They actually ended up doing some entertaining stuff during the match, but you couldn't get anyone a little more relevant. I don't know. So anyway, we cut back to the Dome of Deletion, where Sienna's in the ring, and she's saying that Rosemary's not here because she has apparently been banned from the compound after she tried to kidnap Maxell and delete her decay. More on that later. So Rosemary's not there. I seem to remember something about her, like Matt saying that she was going to have to defend the title or something, but yeah, again, more on that in a minute. So she wants an open challenge to anyone for the #1 contendership to the Knockouts title. And you might think, oh, it's going to be Jade, obviously, but no. Instead, Vanguard 1 shows up. Yeah, Vanguard 1 comes out, makes his entrance, and just when you think you're about to get something so batshit insane that it's fucking amazing, Man versus Machine for the #1 contendership to the Knockouts title, the referee throws Vanguard 1 out. Because he's not going to let this happen. Fuck you, ref. That would have been awesome. And so Sienna clarifies and says, issues her open challenge to any person for the #1 contendership. So apparently, as far as Sienna is concerned, Vanguard 1 is not a person. I think Sienna's racist. And here's where it gets bad. ODB shows up. Where the hell did they dig up ODB? Jesus Christ. Why? Oh my god. You got a roster full of knockouts that you could be using, and instead you bring ODB. ODB? Seriously? Why? She's terrible. We haven't seen her in years. I was happy the day she left. Oh my... where was Jade in all this? Her absence was very notable here. It's like, what? This seems like the logical spot to put her in. I don't know. So they have a match. It's not much of a match because ODB is ODB. The most entertaining thing about this is when Vanguard 1 came back in. He actually counts a pin at one point, and they do like the holographic display with the numbers counting down 3, 2, 1. See, this is the kind of shit I want Vanguard 1 to be doing, because that's funny. I was hoping he'd have more of a presence here, but he counted, and then they kicked him out again. And I wanted more Vanguard 1 because that's what I was watching this segment for. Damn it. I don't want to see ODB. Fuck that. I want to see Vanguard 1 do crazy off-the-wall shit. I wanted to see Sienna versus Vanguard 1 in an actual match, goddammit. But it was not to be. Son of a bitch. So Sienna wins, thankfully. And then we got to see ODB grab Vanguard 1 and put the camera right down her shirt. I don't want to see that. I didn't need to see that, TNA. That's horrifying. No, just, oh, God. Get rid of ODB. Get her off my screen. I don't want to see her again. Ever. So the Vanguard 1 stuff was cool. I enjoyed that. I just wanted this segment to be about that and not about ODB. Ugh. So after this, we have, Itchweed. You know, this other character that Jeff has concocted. He makes his in-ring debut, and he squashes some no-name jobber. There's one kind of weird part where he puts the jobber in a sleeper hold, and he puts himself to sleep, and then he has to wake up before the count of 10. So, I mean, it's really strange, and honestly, this felt like the bathroom break of the show. If ODB wasn't the bathroom break, it was this. I guess you're how much how much you care about this depends on how much you care about Jeff's latest character. I don't really care about Itchweed at all. Kudos to him for trying something different, but it just doesn't do anything for me, so I didn't really care about this segment. Kind of just felt like filler. And then we have our world title match of Eddie Edwards versus Lashley. Not sure why EC3 wasn't there. I don't know, maybe he's injured or something. They may have mentioned that, but I missed it. It's a good match, but so what? Really? The wrestling was good, but you're not watching a show like this for the wrestling. You're watching to see some crazy off-the-wall thing that you're never going to see in a wrestling show ever. You're watching to see them battle into the forest and then get abducted by aliens and then continue to brawl on top of a flying saucer as it zooms through the cosmos or some crazy shit like that. Don't think they wouldn't do it. You think they wouldn't book something like that? Do you really think so? They booked a guy falling into a volcano in this episode. You think they wouldn't do that? Don't rule it out, is all I'm saying. So, they have this match, and Lashley spears Eddie through the door, and then I guess they're fighting into the compound or something, and then it just sort of ends. I guess it continues, but we stop following it after that. To be continued. So, right there, and we go to the main event. Tag Team Apocalypto, because they devoted a lot of time to this. Like, it must have been like a good 35 to 40% of the show was this Tag Team Apocalypto match. So you knew some crazy off-the-wall crap was going to happen here. And this is obviously what they were, why they had to film this like weeks and weeks in advance, because there was just so much stuff going on here. And this is where we fully shift into broken universe mode, the final deletion mode, where the crazy editing and the crazy music, in the music and a complete abandoning of all logic and reason, and we're in cartoon territory now. So it's we didn't even know who was going to be in this exactly for the most part. So it ends up being the Hardys versus the Helms Dynasty versus the Express that rocks and rolls versus the Decay versus whoever bothers to show up at the gate. And there was a lot of stuff there, actually. So it's cool the way they started this, because there's this like air raid siren that goes off, and we see all the crowd being evacuated. And it's kind of like a riot or like some kind of natural disaster going on. And so all the crowd is set off, for their own safety, I guess. It's actually pretty funny, pretty cool the way they filmed that, because it looks so really chaotic and confusing, as something like that would be. So that's really well done. Then the actual match starts, and the way they did this was funny, because there was some interesting storytelling going on here. There were tons of callbacks to the Hardys' history and their friends' histories and stuff like that. That's one of the things that made Final Deletion so interesting. Was the storytelling elements like that. But we see the fireworks as a callback to all like the previous Final Deletion stuff, and we see Jeff on his motorbike, probably the same motorbike he broke his leg on. So everyone starts fighting. They start shooting the fireworks, and then people get separated, and then they kind of pair off. And yeah. I guess, so the Hardys, and I think, what was it? I guess, yeah, so the Decay end up at the gate, right? And then here's we see all these other people who have showed up for this thing. It's just like a bunch of no-namers. I guess the Bravado Brothers sneak in here. The Bravado Brothers, who I know absolutely nothing about. I'm not familiar with those guys, but they sneak in, and they take part in this. So I imagine we'll see them again on Impact later. But yeah, there's this lengthy segment we keep cutting back to with the Decay at the gate, just beating up these jobbers who just come in one at a time. The first two that come in, the Decay kill them. I mean, literally, that's not a metaphor. We're meant to believe those fuckers are dead. One of them might be alive, but Crazy Steve takes his partner and he snaps the dude's neck. Now I watched that back several times just to be sure. He fucking murders that dude. He's dead. So I'm not sure how they're going to handle this. Is Crazy Steve going to be sent to prison for first-degree murder? I would imagine not. But it's really weird that we're just kind of ignoring this. Because that fucking guy is dead. We hear his neck snap. He's gone. They even commented like, "That dude is dead, man." You know, that is some fucking dark stuff to have on a show that's supposed to be as campy as this. That is dark. So yeah, the Bravado brothers sneak in, and we keep coming back to this, and so the Decay are beating up all these guys. And then the DCC show up. Well, it's not really the DCC. It's James Storm and a bunch of ham and eggers in masks. And it's weird how they do this because the Decay just pin one of the no-namers, and then the entire DCC is eliminated. And James Storm, he's like, "What? Those guys weren't even with me." And well, if they weren't with you, then what were they doing there? Why did you bring them? Where's Bram and Kingston? I don't know. And the whole thing is kind of treated like a joke. And I had an issue with that because that's not how I want James Storm to be booked. James Storm is not a joke. I want him to be the world champion, damn it. It was funny, but I didn't want it to be funny. I wanted James Storm to be booked in a serious way. And it's weird how quickly the DCC have just had their just been cut off at the knees in like the last little while. It's strange how quickly that momentum just got halted. So yeah, they did make the Decay look strong here. I'll give them that, because the Decay just ran through all these guys, and then it's like, let's go get some fresh meat. So they go off to find the Hardys. And what the hell else? Okay, meanwhile, we see the Hardys versus Helms Dynasty. This was actually pretty funny. So Shane Helms gets involved. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember the chronology of this. They're making a pin attempt on Matt, and he's reaching out for the dilapidated boat for Sarsgaard. And Matt uses the Force. That's what he fucking did. He used the Force to call Skarsgård to him to break up the pin attempt. The dilapidated boat broke up the pin attempt. And then the Helms Dynasty, they're beating up the fucking boat. There are the three of them. They're pounding on the dilapidated boat like it's a person. This was great. So then Shane Helms gets shoved into the Lake of Reincarnation. He emerges as 3-count Shane Helms, and then the Helms Dynasty are dancing like 3-count used to. That was amazing, because 3-count were fucking awesome. And then he realizes what's going on. You guys aren't Shannon and Evan. What the hell's going on here? And they super kick him back into the water, and he emerges later as the Hurricane. But meanwhile, we got Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett. They're fighting with the Bravado brothers now, so that kind of breaks off back into the Dome of Deletion, and they fight for a while. And then Rockstar Spud shows up with his partner Hornswoggle, because I guess getting humiliated by a baby wasn't enough. They had to humiliate him by pairing him with Hornswoggle, who turns on Spud and then leaves him to get pinned. At least he got to eliminate the Bravado brothers, so that's something. But, man, what the hell are you doing with Spud? Why is he just like the whipping boy at this show? Spud deserves better than this, man. Yeah, he's funny, but God, he's capable of more than just being the butt of every joke. So the Helms dynasty emerged from that encounter victorious. So they go off to find the Hardys, and they're uh, so yeah, they're about to bludgeon Matt to death with shovels, and yeah, they haul back with the shovels. And then the hurricane is there, and he catches the shovels. And he throws one to Matt, and then they just beat the hell out of the Helms dynasty. And I think they bury them alive. I think it's a little unclear what actually happened, but it looks like they were buried alive. So are Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett dead now? Because that dude at the gate is dead. Are Lee and Everett dead? I don't know. It's left up to our imaginations, but if they were buried alive, I'm pretty sure they're dead, unless you left their heads uncovered for air. I don't know. There's this really funny moment, too, where it's like, even the man with 3 H's would appreciate, would be proud of the way we buried this promising young talent. And they're like, yeah, okay, that was good. Christ. Oh, boy. Oh god, I'm forgetting a lot of stuff here because there was the callback to them fighting on top of the moving pickup truck. They did that for a little bit. Matt was fighting the Express, the Rock and Rolls on top of this moving pickup truck, and then they go back and but I think they're fighting on the cranes. They do that, and then Matt beats them by just just controlling the crane and just sending the guy way up there, and he's like, "Man, you broken son of a bitch, let me down." And I guess they're just eliminated that way because he's pretty much out of the fight at that point. So what? Callbacks to 3 Count and the Hurricane, and I think it's just the Hardys and the Decay left at that point, and in between these segments, we're cutting back to Eddie versus Lashley because they're still fighting, and they're fighting all over the place. And I'm not sure if that match is technically going on still, but they're still fighting. I don't remember how that's resolved actually. Maybe it isn't. But anyway, Vanguard 1 shows up to shoot fireworks at Abyss. And Abyss is shooting fireworks back, and he actually hits Vanguard 1 with one of them. And then Vanguard 1 kind of flies off. He's like, "Booyah as fuck!" But he's like, "Dude, I thought you were retreating because you got hit by the fireworks." I don't know. That was confusing. So it comes down to just the Hardys and the Decay, and I like that. Good to see the Decay's the Decay still being a force, still being dangerous. And I was really hoping the DCC would play a much bigger role in this, but apparently that was not to be. It comes down to the Hardys and the Decay, because they're the ones who had deleted Decay, so I guess that makes sense. And, oh boy. So they've got Jeff's insignia dug into the ground, right? And it gets lit on fire. And I guess there was like gasoline or something in there, and the whole thing lights on fire. And it's really impressive how they did this, because we get this aerial shot of the whole thing in flames, and they're fighting in the fire. I don't know. It's like what the hell? It's like Revenge of the Sith when they're fighting in like that magma planet, with the fire all over the place, and it looks really cool. I'll give them that. And boy, here's where it just got. I mean, if the rest of the match up to this point was a 10 on the insanity meter, this was like a 15. Because Jeff throws Crazy Steve into this volcano that they've set up. And like Tom Hanks in Joe versus the Volcano, Steve gets blasted out. The volcano spits him out, and he crashes to the ground, and that's how the Hardys win. What the hell did I just witness? I don't know how you even come up with something like this, much less execute it. I mean, how did they convince anyone that this was a good idea? How do you pitch something like that? I don't know, but I guess in the context of the broken universe, it somehow makes sense. So finally, It's over. The Hardys are victorious. They've proved themselves to be the greatest tag team in all of space and time. And, then fireworks go off in celebration this time, and not as weapons. And that's how the show ends. Because God knows nothing was going to top Crazy Steve getting blasted out of a fucking volcano. Also, Rebby's pregnant again. Good. Great. That means that Matt won't be able to book her to win the Knockouts title from Rosemary like I was afraid he would. In fact, interesting tidbit here. I believe at one point, Matt was saying on social media, this is like weeks ago, maybe a month or two, I don't know. But Matt was saying, I heard this somewhere, that Rosemary was going to have to defend her Knockouts title on this show. And then the show airs and she's suddenly banned from the compound. Which leads me to think that originally, the knockout match on this show was going to be Rebby challenging Rosemary for the Knockouts Championship. And considering what happened to Steve here, I think Rosemary just dodged a bullet. Thank God. So yeah, I'm guessing Sienna versus ODB was like a last-minute thing. So that was Total Nonstop Deletion. So how does this rate as a show? Honestly, I have no idea. You can't rate this as a wrestling show because that's not what this was. I mean, really, all I can say is whether or not I was entertained by it in the long run. And I was, for the most part. Now, the tag team apocalypto match was exactly what I expected a show like this to be. And yeah, that was the main attraction, which took up a huge chunk of the show. And it felt right in line with Final Deletion and Delete or Decay and all that stuff. The Great War and blah, blah, blah. So that's good. I guess you could call Eddie versus Lashley the co-main event, but that was like they shifted back into wrestling mode for a little while, and as a result, it felt oddly out of place here. It's like somebody on the writing team said, "Oh, we got to have at least one traditional wrestling match because this is a wrestling show," but it really wasn't. Not this week. So it kind of felt like we stepped into a cartoon universe and then we just stepped out for a few minutes and then we stepped back in. So it felt awkward. Strange to say that, but that's what happened. Then there was the Itchweed Squash, which really just felt like filler to me. Rockstar Spud getting humiliated and pinned by a baby, which, while funny, really made me feel bad for Spud. And then the Knockouts match. I like seeing Sienna win. I like her being back in the title picture. I like her being used in a prominent way because that's not someone you sideline. She ought to be getting more TV time. But the match I wanted to see was Sienna versus Vanguard 1. And if she had to wrestle a human for the number one contendership, why wasn't Jade there? Her exclusion just felt wrong. Stuff like this is why Gail Kim's speech about Jade a few weeks ago felt completely disingenuous to me. They say Jade is the future of the knockout division, but then they don't treat her like she is. I mean, they haven't treated her like she is for, well, basically since the summer. Pretty much since she lost the title. And her title reign wasn't even good anyway, because they just completely forgot about her. If Jade is the future, if she's Gail's chosen one, shouldn't she be here? Shouldn't she be in the mix? Shouldn't she be the one challenging Sienna, rather? Shouldn't she be gunning for Rosemary like she says she is on Twitter? If she's the future, why isn't she there? It's show don't tell, really. They tell us that Jade is the future, but then they don't show it. That's why the Gail's whole spiel about Jade just rang completely false to me. So that whole thing was really questionable. The Vanguard 1 stuff was really cool. I just wanted that to be what the segment was really about. And why in God's name did they have to use ODB for this? Jesus Christ. TNA, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a camera going down ODB's chest. You know, I have no desire to see ODB in any capacity ever again. Get her off my screen. She's still with ROH? Fine, send her back to ROH. Let them have her. We got rid of her. I want to keep it that way. So, that was the whole show. And so to wrap this whole thing up finally, I think Total Nonstop Deletion was an entertaining spectacle overall. I will praise TNA for going way outside the box and doing something really different. You know, being really creative with how it was shot, doing certain things, and using a style of camera work that you don't normally see on a wrestling show. But I think it's getting close to being too much, and it might be time to rein Matt in a little bit. I'm going to call this show a success, but we're getting close to the red line here. I think that we might have peaked, and I don't know if I'd want to take it much further than this. You know, if they want to keep the broken universe going, you know, use it in moderation. And that's my thoughts on that. And let's just get through all these questions and comments in the chat room, because I gotta go outside and I gotta finish shoveling some snow. I gotta dig my car out of a snowdrift, and then I gotta go finish my Christmas shopping. Let's see. Sienna got to actually talk. That was a shocker. Yeah. I'm really disappointed that they don't let her talk more, because she's got some of the best mic skills, and like out of all the female performers in the industry today, she's probably got some of the best mic skills. I'd certainly rank her mic skills in the top 10. So it's really disappointing that they don't let her talk more. Is ODB even an active wrestler at this point? Because she sure didn't look like she was. I like her, but there was no reason for her to wrestle on that show. She could have just appeared on it. Or she could have not appeared on it at all. And they could have used one of the knockouts from the active roster. Yeah, let's see. Spear through the door by Lashley was sick. Agreed. I saw a lot of hate tweets about Total Nonstop Deletion. To those people who hate this episode, fuck you. Again, I wasn't there. I wasn't at home that night. I was at the movies. But as I understand it, it was trending #1. So whether they loved it or hated it, they were talking about it. Do you think that tag team the Helms guys were facing are the new tag team or for TNA, or are they just for that show only? I think if TNA didn't intend to use them in the future, they probably would have been featured so prominently. So if anybody knows anything about the Bravado brothers, let me know. Were they any good? Because we really didn't get an accurate assessment here. Thoughts on the rumors about Anthem and talks with Jeff Jarrett? Oy. Oh boy. I really haven't thought about it, because I prefer not to dwell on that. Much like Matt Hardy right now, I would not want to, if they did bring Jeff Jarrett back, I would really not want to subject him to any temptation. I mean, this is a guy who booked himself as the world champion for years, even though everybody was sick of him. I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett back. I don't want to see his wife back. You know, he made this huge deal out of Global Force Wrestling, and then that went nowhere. So, is he just trying to save face? Trying to get his ego massaged? Honestly, I don't want to see him back, because again, he probably just make the whole damn show all about him again. No, I don't want that. The 3 count and Triple H references were amazing. Yeah, those were good. Matt Hardy and Shane Helms took the biggest pot shot in Triple H in this episode. Yeah, they did, and it was amazing. Let's see. Who had the best cameo? I'm going to say 3 count. Even though it wasn't really a 3 count, but... Spud just got destroyed by friggin' Hornswoggle. King Maxell as well. I guess he will never be more than a comedy act anymore. TNA, you've got Grado for this or Robbie E. Yeah. Yeah, Spud really deserves better. He just... It's funny, but it's just... This is a guy who's capable of a lot more than just being funny. And it seems like they've kind of relegated him to just comedy stuff at this point. And that's really disappointing. The truck driver Decay took out returned. Oh, that was the guy? Was he the was he the guy from the DCC that got pinned? Was that I thought that was him. Yeah. Yeah. Should have been Grado instead of Rockstar Spud. Yeah. Or Robbie E. Either would have been fine. You know, if you're gonna have somebody get betrayed by Hornswoggle and pinned by a baby. That's stuff Robbie E is tailor made for. I think the Brokens versus DCC will be the feud going forward. Well, if so, shouldn't the DCC have had a bigger presence here? Or at the very least, shouldn't the DCC have been made to not be used as just a comedy bit? Maybe that feud will continue, but it's weird how the DCC were treated here and not made to look strong. Let's see. I wonder what Eric Young thinks about Vanguard 1 motorboating his wife. Oh boy. Please don't remind me of that. I loved how the Lashley versus Eddie match actually never ended and was still happening throughout Apocalypto. Yeah, it was kind of... I don't think there was an official ending to that, so maybe it's still going on. Who knows? It kind of reminded me of that time in WCW where Sting got like covered in blood or something, and he just walking around like a zombie. And then the next week, you know, on Nitro the following week, he's still walking around backstage like a zombie covered in blood. So it's like it's like a to be continued. It just doesn't end. It just keeps going the following week, like it never actually had a conclusion. Okay, Logan was shown to some fans and critics. They apparently loved it. It was said to be Wolverine at its most primal. It was dark and gritty, and X-23 stole the show as well. Oh, good. A Wolverine movie should be dark and gritty. Good. Hopefully they'll finally have a good Wolverine solo movie. I guess the Wolverine was all right, but X-Men Origins Wolverine was terrible, and the Wolverine, while for the most part it was okay, it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. Hopefully the Wolverine does look promising though. So not the Wolverine. Logan does look promising though. So I'm cautiously optimistic about that. When watching a wrestler you don't like, best way to be entertained is to do your own commentary and bury them. I went into full Don West mode for ODB versus CN. TNA are still protecting Eddie, so I take it they're saving him for Lashley versus EC3 in a triple threat match. I kind of got that impression too. Yeah. Let's see. How long should Rosemary versus Sienna feud last? Well, it depends what they do with it, really. If that's going to be an actual feud and not just a one-off, then I suspect it's weird because they're both technically heels. So I guess you're going to have to do some creative rejiggering here, some character surgery, maybe make them like both into more tweeners. Like I was kind of... to me, Rosemary is a tweener anyway. She's not really a heel. She's just a force of nature who just wants to destroy everyone, no matter whether they're face or heel. So I guess Sienna would be the babyface in this case. So it'll be strange. It'll be interesting to see who the fans decide to support in this feud. I'm not sure how long they could last. I'm sure they could do a month or two at least. I wouldn't want that to be just a one-off. But it depends on when or if they want to put Jade back in the mix, maybe make it a triple threat, maybe involve other people. I don't know. But I would like them to get at least a month or two out of it. If Eddie had beaten Lashley 3 times cleanly, I'd be like, what the fuck? Nothing against him, but once again, all of these victories are coming out of nowhere, and it makes his title reign seem absurd to me. I think I'm getting into that territory myself now. I thought, the first victory against Lashley, I bought it, because they made the story work. Because Lashley took him for granted, wasn't really treating him seriously, and Eddie took advantage and surprised him. Even the second one, I was like, okay, yeah, I get it, but I think we're pushing it now. And if he'd gone over Lashley again, I'd be like, you know what, Lashley's not taking him for granted anymore, and yet Eddie is still hanging in there with him, and Lashley still isn't able to beat him. It's like, really? Really? The guy who was booked like a juggernaut for months, who had the most dominant title reign I've seen in years, is suddenly completely unable to beat Eddie Edwards, even when he's completely focused. That would seem a little absurd to me. Nothing against Eddie, but Lashley is not. Lashley is not a guy who should be unable to beat Eddie Edwards. Who won the Eddie Lashley match? I don't know. I guess it didn't really stop. It just kind of continued on until the show ended. Let's see. I hope Matt doesn't make a habit of bringing his friends in and stroking their ego like Hogan did. Yeah. No kidding. The guy on the news was from OVW. That's where I knew it. That's where yeah. Yeah, he's on one of the announcers on OVW. Yeah, that's where I saw him from. Because I thought he looked familiar. Yeah, thank you. That was bugging me. Hornswoggle trying for a spear on Lashley was pretty funny. Yeah, I forgot about that part. He tries to spear Lashley and knocks himself out. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's see. I really hope Rosemary gets a great run as Knockouts champ, but with Gail there, I just think they will give it back to her as soon as she's healthy. I'm really worried about that, too. There was that moment at the end of the Jade Rosemary cage match where, Rosemary is just kind of holding up the title and getting right in Gail's face with it. Yeah, I beat your chosen one. Choke on that. And they're having this little interaction there, and it's like, oh man, they're teasing a feud here, aren't they? Oh, jeez. I don't want Rosemary to lose the title to Gail. I don't want her to lose the title anytime soon. They need to reestablish the credibility of the Knockouts Championship. To do that, they need a good champion to have a good, long, meaningful reign. And it doesn't work, it doesn't mean anything if Rosemary is just a placeholder until Gail wins the damn title back. Okay, you have Gail anoint. Okay, what I want them to do is to build up to Rosemary versus Allie. I would say do it at Bound for Glory. I would accept Slammiversary, because I think they could make that work. If it's not Allie, then it should be Jade, I think, because you can't anoint someone as the future and then just put the title belt back on the woman who represents the past. When you do that, you're saying that when I said this girl was the future, I was just bullshitting you. I didn't mean it. They cannot have Gail beat Rosemary for the title. They can't do it. Doesn't mean they won't, but if they did, it would be a bunch of horse shit. Because they say Gail is this close to announcing her retirement, and she's saying, "Oh, this girl is the future here," and then they're just going to have her win the title back. No, it's terrible storytelling, and I think it's a disservice to not just Rosemary but Jade as well. And to do that just so Gail Kim can get another title run she doesn't need, no, it'd be a terrible idea. Abyss got destroyed by Janus, which means he'll be back the following week healthy. Not, under normal circumstances, you're probably right, but I think that was the last show they had in the can, and they're not scheduled to do more TV tapings until January. So I assume the next couple of shows are going to be best of shows. And honestly, I mean, it's going to be Christmas time and New Year's time. No one's going to be watching wrestling anyway, so they might as well just do best of shows, because to burn stuff off, to burn off new content around holiday time, it's just pointless because no one's watching. They found that out on Thanksgiving. Yeah, the ratings are going to suck anyway, so just do a best of show and just wait for it. Wait for the new year. Really good to see the Helms Dynasty featured so much, also allowed to be funny, and the bravados were fun as well, wearing Mr. Rogers sweaters and acting really polite and clueless to the danger. Yeah, and the bravados seem to have some interesting characters there. I wouldn't mind seeing more of those guys, provided they can, perform well. I don't know what kind of performers they are. Somebody clue me in on that. But, character-wise, look-wise, they looked all right. Still can't believe 3 count was a thing back in the early 2000s. Oh, believe it. They were a thing, and they were awesome. Because that was kind of a brilliant gimmick, because that was during the whole boy band craze, when you couldn't turn on the radio without hearing the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC or whatever, or friggin' 98 Degrees or any one of the dozens of boy band knockoffs. God, there were so friggin' many of them. You couldn't escape it. So to do a gimmick based on that was actually kind of a stroke of genius. And 3 count were awesome too. I love that gimmick. Let's see. Why did EC3's undefeated streak work but Crimson's didn't? Well, booking, for one. EC3 was booked much better. Plus, his character worked from the outset, whereas Crimson, his character was kind of a work in progress. They started him off as a babyface, but I think the guy was way more charismatic as a heel. I thought things really started to click for him after he turned heel, but then it ended, and he got destroyed by James Storm, and then he just kind of disappeared. It's really unfortunate. So I thought that guy had big star potential. I mean, yeah, he was a work in progress, but I thought the potential, that the raw material for a star was there. It's really disappointing how he just kind of disappeared. Think Bound for Glory should be Allie versus Rosemary, the 2 most over characters, but it'll either be rushed or Mrs. Cena will ruin it. And that's a big concern. Yeah. Let's see. They should air videos on the YouTube channel, Eddie Edwards and Lashley fighting in subways and restaurants, and then end on the next episode. Yeah, like they just never stop fighting. They're fighting through like empty fields and gas stations and shit on their way to the Impact Zone, and then the next Impact starts, and they just fight their way into the arena like they've been fighting for like 3 straight weeks. That's actually not a bad idea. The Wolverine was really good, but the last 20 minutes fucked everything up for me. Yeah, it was really, the ending kind of ruined it. It's like, he has a healing factor. It's not an anti-aging factor. It slows his aging. It doesn't it doesn't reverse the aging process. It's like, Up until then, they had something good, but I like the fact that Rosemary is a tweener. Me too. One big gripe I have is the marketing. Why not sell rosemary painted masks? I think it would sell like hotcakes. Yeah, exactly. Of course, marketing and merchandising is something they have a big problem with. It's probably why they outsourced their merchandise to Pro Wrestling Tees, because they weren't producing any merch. Last time I went to the merchandise website, it was not that long ago. It was a couple months ago. I was looking for some Decay merchandise. I was looking for a Decay shirt. There weren't any. They didn't have one. They still had plenty of ODB merchandise, even though she left the company years ago. That was featured prominently on the website, but there wasn't a Decay shirt? Okay, that told me everything I needed to know about the state of their merchandise department. So if you want... Now there is Decay merchandise available, but you got to get it on Pro Wrestling Tees. And why aren't they selling rosemary face paint masks? Beats me. I think those things would sell. You got a good point there. And maybe now that Anthem are the majority owners and the company has some financial stability, maybe they'll finally get their act together in the merchandise department. Who knows? I was pissed that we didn't have Eli Drake here. Would have been cool to see him in all this madness. Yeah, it would, but he still can't talk until the end of the year. Is Davey coming back or not? I believe so. He's cleared to wrestle now. He's returned to the ring, but all this stuff was taped before that. I think he was cleared in November, but all their TV until the end of the year was taped prior to that, and. I suppose maybe they could have had him in Total Nonstop Deletion in some capacity, but who knows? Unless they had a real role for him, or unless they had to replace something on the show. Maybe it was a better idea to just wait. Because when Davey comes back, I want it to be about him. I don't want it to be on a show like this where the focus is on all the crazy lunacy type stuff. Let's see. How come TNA isn't making toy Vanguard 1s? They should really capitalize on the amount of popularity the Broken Hardys have. Well, that's not the same thing as making a t-shirt. That you'd have to probably have to outsource to a toy company. Because I go to there's a Brookstone, I think it's a Brookstone, at the mall that I go to, and they've got the remote controlled drones there that you can buy and you can fly around with, and those things are expensive. And it's not the kind of thing you can just make a graphic for, and put it on a T-shirt or make a mask or something. That's complicated. You'd have to get another company to kind of build that for them, and that's probably beyond TNA's means at some point. I agree, it's a good idea. I'd like to see it, but I'm not surprised that hasn't happened. Have Allie lose its Slammiversary against Rosemary after a valiant effort and then do a redemption story leading into Bound for Glory. That would work. Jade is a good wrestler, but I think she needs a gimmick. Putting her against the likes of Allie and Rosemary really exposes her weaknesses. As a character, I would agree. Is she the best wrestler of those three? Yeah, probably. But in terms of persona, of character, of charisma, of mic skills, that sort of stuff, Rosemary and Allie are just head and shoulders above her, and it's obvious. So I agree. They do need to they need to give Jade more attention in that aspect. Give her a little more character focus. Try to make the characterization deeper. Maybe give her some kind of gimmick to work with. Because she did all right with the Dollhouse stuff. Maybe emphasize the War Queen stuff. Maybe do like a soldier type thing. I don't know. But I agree. They need to give her more of a character, and see if she can just work on developing that part of the game. Gilbert Corsi is the guy from the news anchor. The news anchor from OVW. Yeah, I remember him now. Thank you. Love 3 count. So many awesome matches. Oh yeah, the 3 count Young Dragons matches. Those were fantastic. Let's see. I would have brought in Allie, Jade, or anyone current to wrestle Sienna. Nope. Instead, we're treated to a 40-year-old irrelevant ODB. Yay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what happened there. My guess is it was a last-minute thing because I think I do believe originally Rosemary was going to wrestle, was going to defend the title against Rebby. I think that was the original plan. Then reveals, oh, Rebby's pregnant again. Okay, well we got to come up with something else then. And then they landed on Sienna versus ODB. I don't know why they didn't use one of the current knockouts, but if it was just a one-off for Sienna to get a win, okay, fine. You wanted to protect Jade from eating another loss, okay. Maybe it's better to have Sienna just beat someone who's only there to put her over. Okay, whatever. Didn't mean I want to see ODB. It was nice seeing ODB. Oh, I respectfully disagree, my friend. No, it wasn't. ODB, she can stay gone. Rosemary versus Allie is one of the hottest feuds in Canada right now. Dude, Rosemary and Allie, Courtney Rush, Cherry Bomb, whatever we're calling them now, it's the best feud in women's wrestling, bar none. It's the best booked. They've got the best promos, the best rivalry. That's why I want to see it on TV, because it's been so friggin' interesting. In Smash Wrestling or wherever else they happen to face each other. These two, just when they're together, they just know how to sell a feud better than any other women in the business. That's what happens. The promos are awesome, the characters are awesome, the psychology is great. I want to see this feud. I really want to see them do it justice on TV. And I'm glad it hasn't happened yet. I'm really hoping that they're saving it for a big show. That's why I'm saying doing it Bound for Glory with tons and tons of build-up. Because they can sell it. Okay, let's try to get through the last of these questions because it's getting dark and I gotta go finish my shopping here. Until they sign some new women wrestlers that aren't rookies, the division will have to stretch out feuds. You're not necessarily wrong on that. I mean, they've had a bunch of new girls here, but they're really raw. Raquel, I don't trust Raquel. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't trust her not to screw up. Okay, so apparently she's progressing quickly as a wrestler. Okay, good, but character-wise, promo-wise, does she bring anything to the table here? Not from what I've seen. And, in that aspect, she seems completely lost. And then there's Brandy, who TNA seemed to want to be a big deal, but she's being exposed, man. She's getting rushed. I think they want her to be a big star for them, but it's obvious that she's not ready for that spot. She's trying hard, but it's too soon. And Laurel Van Ness seems to be working out okay. I mean, she's also pretty green, but of the three newbies, I think she's the most prepared. She's probably got the most experience. I don't know how much Brandy has, but she certainly has more than Raquel, and she seems to have a fair amount of aptitude when it comes to playing a character. So that's good. I like Laurel, but she's very green herself, and I don't think any of those three are ready for a big spot just yet. So you're left with everyone else. Thankfully, Sienna, she's good to go. Jade, fine. Rosemary and Allie, they were stars the second they walked out there for the first time. So they've got stuff to work with, but not everyone on the roster is 100% ready. So Yeah, they could stand to develop that more. Raquel just won Shine's tag titles with Santana Garrett. If Shine is pushing her like this, how long till her in-ring is ready for TNA TV? I don't know. Well, Shine is not TNA. Shine and Impact are not the same thing. They book things differently. And plus, she's in there with Santana Garrett, who is a very good wrestler, who can kind of cover for her. The last time when TNA have used Raquel in the ring, I haven't been impressed. Okay, maybe she's had some decent showings on Explosion, but on Impact, I haven't been enamored with what I've seen. I think the last time I saw her in a match was like some kind of multi-woman match, like a battle royal or something, where she tried to do like a lung blower on Sienna, and she fell sideways instead of backwards, and then she starts, showboating like she did something amazing when really she just embarrassed herself. Okay, will she turn out to have some potential as a wrestler? Maybe. She very well could. I mean, she's clearly an athlete at the very least, but my big concern for her is how does she pick up psychology and character performance and mic skills and that sort of thing, because from what I've seen from her, she's got no clue when it comes to that stuff. That's my biggest concern with her. They could make Vanguard 1 plush toys. That's an idea. They could do that. Actually would have loved Roxy coming back to be fed to Sienna. I miss Roxy. They dropped the ball with her. I would have liked to see her again, but she has since retired from wrestling, and she kind of acknowledged that she wasn't really treated well when she was there. So I think the last time they asked her to come back, she turned them down. So I don't think she's looking to come back. Kind of disappointing though. The War Queen character works well for Jade because it's based on her toughness, which is portrayed by her in-ring ability. Yeah, so maybe try to accentuate that a little bit. Favorite Christmas movie? National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. For many years, one of my big Christmas traditions was I watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation every Christmas Eve while I was wrapping presents. I've since kind of retired that because I've pretty much got the whole movie memorized anyway. But that would be my favorite Christmas movie. Let's see. Nobody that is green as hell should be wrestling for the Knockouts title. Agreed? You familiar with Bad Bones John Klinger? Yeah, I know of him. I know he was he's the guy who won that what the hell, that poll. I think TNA they took all the people, all the gut check contestants or something, and like put them on an online poll and said fans can vote on who they want to get a tryout or something, and Bad Bones won, and there was some kind of controversy where people thought he was cheating to get votes, and Shauna was in there too. She was like, it was Bad Bones was number 1 and Shauna was number 2, and like nobody else was even close. And I wanted Shauna to win, but she got a tryout anyway, and then TNA passed on both of them, so who knows? Although Bad Bones did have a match on Explosion recently, so who knows? Still really wish they'd signed Shauna, though. I'm worried we're getting Rosemary versus Brandy soon, which would be even worse than Rosemary versus Gale. Well, she's got to get through Sienna first, and I'm hoping they'll stretch that out for a while. In the meantime, Brandy can feud can continue feuding with with Maria for all I care. God, Shauna should be signed already. I can't believe someone hasn't signed her. I mean, she's got everything. She can wrestle, she can talk, she's got a great look, she's got a great gimmick, she's got her own freaking music. She's already completely packaged. Literally, all you have to do is sign her and put her on TV. I don't know why the hell Shauna isn't signed somewhere. That makes no sense to me at all. Bad Bones also wrestled for Al Snow's Academy, or trains at Al Snow's Academy. Okay, so that's how we got the explosion match. All right, whatever. When he had that tryout a while back, I remember saying, okay, I was like, you know what, he did well here, but I didn't see him do anything that somebody like a Samoa Joe couldn't do. Now Samoa Joe's not there anymore, and maybe they've got a spot for him. Who knows? And that is going to do it. Sorry if I didn't get to anything. Sorry if you had other stuff that you haven't typed in yet, but I gotta go. I got Christmas shopping to do, and not a whole lot of time to do it. I actually got to return something because I bought it the other day and it's broken. When I pulled it out of the container, it was broken, so I got to return that. So thanks everybody for joining me. Good talk tonight. I think that's going to be it for the rest of the year, because I'm pretty sure the next two Impacts are like best of shows or something. No point in reviewing those. So I will see you in the new year. I guess they start taping TV again early in January, so I guess we got 2 weeks off, and then we start up again in January. So I will talk to you then. In the meantime, you go finish your shopping, decorate your tree if you haven't done that already, and go shovel some snow, sing some carols or whatever. Just enjoy the holidays. That's what they're there for. So thanks for joining me once again. Merry Christmas, everybody.